Hello, hello. Here's another episode of Choosing Vibrancy Experts. So I love when I get to meet mostly women that are somewhere connected to what I love doing, which is self care and wellness and about choosing vibrancy in your life. And it's fun to be able to invite them in and find out some of their secret sauce and how they work with people in the world and bring joy and make the world a better place. So I'm delighted to be able to introduce to you Madeline Sklar. I said that right, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yay. And Madeline is a spiritual life coach and she's an author. And hopefully you'll show your book so we can take a look at it.
Okay.
Show us your book. I love it when you're an author. That's our ancient mother's alphabet. Oh, I like that. So we're going to have a chat here, and then I'll put the contact information. If you'd like to follow Madeline or talk to her individually, you'll be able to do that. So Madeline, let's kick it off. So tell us, what is your opinion? This is such an open-ended question, but what do you think about self-care?
Well, I think that the first place that self-care starts is in your own psychology, in your ability to feel how alive you are at whatever stage of life, to really respect your own life force. And also how you can connect to something beyond yourself as well. And I'm a spiritual life coach, but I don't have a specific religious dogma that I suggest people follow, as much as that they recognize, and that we all recognize, that we are a lot more than just our bodies, that we are actually able to connect to everything that is, and that we're really part of that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it starts with, you have to be first connected to yourself. You have
Yeah.
to have that interconnection so that you have the ability to see that a perspective that's deeper, to have that deeper connection. I think it starts with that. I think everything starts with that, of quieting ourselves down and knowing. I think it gives us the confidence and the insight to see the world outside of our immediate circle.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a miracle to realize we're breathing the same air that everything that has ever lived on this planet has breathed from the beginning of time. And it's the same breath. And we're being breathed and we're breathing.
So do you use breath as a part of the exercises that you teach your clients?
Well, in terms of getting them to be aware of when they're choking their breath off, because I think sometimes when we're angry, when we're frustrated, when we're afraid, we start squeezing inside ourselves. And I've worked with people where, as they're talking, they're telling a story, and it's like watching a python wrap around them. And I actually said that to a client. I said, I feel like you're getting strangled by a python as you're talking to me. And he said, oh, yes, that's just how I feel. And so then I got him to to breathe.
Right.
Release some of that pressure. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you're talking about somebody that is so wrapped up in it that they're not even conscious probably half the time that they're carrying that kind of stress.
Exactly. I mean, well, he was conscious he was carrying stress. He was a person who was conscious of carrying stress. But I think sometimes when we're in that place of stress, we're not even aware how we're choking off our own breathing.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I've done that with readings. I've noted we have one of the cards that I created is called the Hey.
Okay.
Is based on, well, the Hebrew alphabet being an ideographic
Mhm.
alphabet.
Uh-huh.
The letters have meaning, and this is the letter Hey
Mhm.
from the Hebrew alphabet, which really goes back to the ancient goddess cultures.
Mhm.
And it means wind door. And that's because in those days, they just cut a hole in the wall, and that was the door for the wind to come through.
Okay.
And I had a client who was for a reading, and she got this Hey card reversed. And I said, what this means is that you're cutting off your own breath. And just recognize that you are a wind door
Mm.
for the air to move in and out through. And if you're holding your breath, or if you're only breathing out and not breathing in, psychologically as well as physically,
Mhm.
you're going to burn out.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's
makes sense.
to kind of have both going.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So what do you all do you sit there and breathe with them? How do you help somebody that's
I
holding
just,
their breath?
I help them just recognize, I can do a visualization and a, hypnotic thing to help people lower their breath into their bodies. But often it doesn't even take that. It just says, okay, now just let yourself really feel the breath going into
Mhm.
your body and down, all the way down to the bottom of your seat if you're sitting, to your feet, and then just let that, and then just hold it for a moment and then let it go.
Mhm.
And just
Mhm.
do that a few times until you can start to feel the expansiveness that you can have,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think it's amazing how we can walk around and be so on autopilot and get triggered by whatever's going on around us, something someone said, some worry we have, some outside influence, and be so out of touch with what's going on with us. And I have this recent experience. I love listening to Abraham Hicks, and I was listening to Abraham on the way to a tennis match, and it was helpful. I was a little worried about it because I hadn't played tennis in many months because I had injured my shoulder. And so I took that some of the words that were said into the tennis match, which was about breathing and about being really present and and just feeling what was going on with me. And we lost the match. It didn't, I can't, I'd love to say, and it was magical, and that didn't
It doesn't
happen.
always one-to-one.
I know, right? But I walked away from the match feeling really good about how I played and feeling really good about the match. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. You're not always going to win. But it really did help me mentally because I was going into it with a lot of stress and not wanting to be the one that played bad and lost it for the team, kind of a thing. I was kind of carrying that around. So um and it the first step for me is always like that awareness. Oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, I'm worried about this. So
Yeah.
that helped a lot.
Yeah, sometimes it's just to know, like I told one client that it's just important to know when you're thinking something, how it's affecting your body. Because our thoughts and our emotions are so connected. And so if we think certain things, we start to tighten up in we start feeling all this misery and pain in our psyches, and then it comes down into our bodies. And I just really like to see people free themselves from some of that self-judgment, I met with a wonderful woman the other day, and she was such a really nice, decent person, but she had, I could tell that she was coming from so much self-criticism, punitive judgments. And I said, look, if you want to be loved, you're only going to be loved if you recognize that you can be your whole self, not just your pretty face mask, not just the front. And I said, and the thing is, just realize you're not poo, we are all are bad and good. And just be, just when you start feeling so critical of yourself, think, I'm not Putin, I'm not Hitler. And just sort of compare yourself to those people that you think are really bad.
Yeah.
And then you'll feel a lot better.
Ah,
But we beat ourselves up so much for not being an idea of perfection when such a thing does not really exist.
yeah. Yeah. I love
So,
that. Well, in just closing, do you have any tips that you would offer those that are listening?
well, I'm going to be 80 this summer, and
Amazing.
I just feel like I'm a very alive person. And if I have any tips about how to stay healthy and alive, some of it I know must be luck and a blessing that I have nothing to do with it. But I think some of it has to do with the fact that I always am very curious, and I'm always learning, and I'm always interested, truly, deeply interested in the people that come to me, that I connect with, that I run into anywhere in the store. Sherry, every person has something that is unique and is just who they are. And I really love to encourage people to be who they are and to discover that with them.
That's lovely. And I think that does keep you young, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're putting out love out in the world, it's only happening because you're giving that to yourself. And the opposite is poison to ourselves.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
there's another thing with that, and that
okay.
is to stay flexible, because if you get rigid in your body, in
Mhm.
your mind, then you're never going to be able to,
Right.
you're kind of killing parts of yourself before you're dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
is my feeling.
Yeah. The Walking Dead. There's the tip. Don't go out and be a walking dead.
Don't get too rigid in your
Yeah.
thinking of your
Yeah.
body.
Boy. So
Stay.
there's a lot of that going on around this country.
There is,
Yeah.
there is. And it's all fear. It's all
Yeah. Yeah.
fear.
It's like I'd rather be right than happy.
Yeah, what a silly thing that is,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Well, thank you. This has been lovely. This has been a nice little bit of Madeline. And like I said, people will know how they can contact you if they would like more. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, you're welcome.